Roy asked me, what advice did I have to people who just have to go to work on a day like this? And is cannabis legal in your local municipality? All right, like is it possible for you to go get you a medicine card? Like I say, hey, I'm just saying, maybe you should give that a try, baby. I worked at a radio station in 2008 when Obama was running. It's one thing when you hear the white folks talking crazy on the radio and then you just turn off the radio when you get to work. It's another thing when the white folks be talking crazy on the radio and then you turn off the radio when you get to work and then you walk upstairs and there they go, right there. Sitting on the other side of the room. I really don't look, man, like I've had to do national radio after days like this. Now I do this from the crib, so you just kind of go. And I don't know, man. I guess maybe I just don't get my hopes up that high. This is just kind of another day. Or maybe you call your funniest friend and say, hey, let's do work together.
It's like nobody will talk about politics in your office, right? And then the day after an election, half the office is like giddy, but you can't tell why. And the other half look like they got to take a shit. And you also can't tell why. And you just know, and it's just a weird energy. And then you feeling all this stress and hopelessness and all of that. I don't really know what to say to people, man, because I don't know if you can tell folks, well, just vote and keep fighting. And you got to keep fighting. Well, what's been the last 12 years?
So first Obama election, I did a remote the day after. I feel like it was for like a job fair. And so I'm sitting there like by myself. I got the headphones on and like, I don't know. I was having a good time. If anybody else has had a problem, I promise you, honestly, I couldn't really tell what anybody else is feeling right now. Shit wasn't really about you. Now, is it? Okay. I mean, if you would have asked me, I would say that everything was like OBKB. It was that 2012. That was the time that Obama didn't even get 40% of the white people vote. And after a week or so, hey man, it was white men in particular. They couldn't believe it. They were salty. They had all decided that this was over. And so they figured with that in mind, that meant that it would be over. And then it wasn't. And they were like, oh man, I mean, it was even like the white homies I had that was cool, but conservative. It was having a tough week, man. That one was hard on them, boy. And I'm like, damn, if this how they dealing with me, I can't imagine what they saying only amongst they partners.
Why is it with politics? And I know part of it is because there are a lot of policies that are like legit life or death issues, no jokes. And why is it though with politics there isn't like you want, like the way a team after the big win, you still come over and pat your buddy on the back and go, hey man, good battle. Hopefully my guy doesn't destroy everything that you hope and believe for, but let's still work together in our cubicle. Like the fact that Mark Cuban still came out and said, congrats, Trump. Okay. I don't know if you have to say that, but I get it in the spirit of trying to come together and no matter what, we America and we one nation.
Yeah, I get it when you that rich. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, you won fair and square. What can I say? Then you go on about your business. I do say this, though, and I think that this is an underrated, actual serious point that I've been thinking for a long time, and I'm surprised that more people have not articulated, is that the way that this system is built for there not to be wild swings based upon who does or does not win, right? Like the system of politics in this country with the mechanical setup that we have becomes broken when you can't afford to lose one. And neither side legitimately believes that they can afford to lose even one. Because if you feel like you can afford to lose one, then you don't feel like you have to cheat, right? You feel like, okay, well, we don't have this part. We can go do this other thing. All right, They got to shake something up because everybody feels like you can't even afford to lose a single one election, right? Everybody, it's not just the talking point that they think is dire if the other side gets it. Everybody actually believes that this is dire. And so, look, man, we've been around for a lot of elections. They didn't start making people sad to go to work until 2016 that I saw. Like, I don't remember people calling out for work in 2004 when George W. Bush won again. And remember when we thought that was the worst.
No. 2000 with Gore. I mean, I was there at FAMU. We marched to the Capitol in Tallahassee for the dangling Chad. And even when that election was still stolen, it was like, all right, we got to figure it out next time. But it definitely wasn't group hubs. group hug, type sadness going around. And then I think that's when, like, once you have that sadness and the anger and the grief cycle, that's when all the finger pointing starts. And I think that's where there's a lack of effective post-election analysis about why you might have lost. So you can just go, oh, it was the Latinos. Oh, the white women lied and they still voted against their own interests. Oh, black men. Don't you say black men didn't do it. Black men did do it. Look at the numbers, which is all true. But also, Kamala had a short runway to campaign. But also, there were a million other lies that people bought into that Trump. So I think everything becomes like a salad of chaos that the Democrats just couldn't recover from, man. And I think people just go, oh, well, and just next time we're going to fight even harder without doing legit analysis of why you are where you are and then changing up the recipe. And I think that's the biggest thing that's got to happen with the Democrats. They got to change the recipe this go round.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like what the level of self-awareness is going to be, or the recognition that, let's say, hypothetically, that the only reason that Kamala Harris lost is because she's a black woman. Let's just throw that out there. That still doesn't mean you couldn't have done some other things differently in order, because people stayed home. That was the part that I thought was maybe the most interesting. Like 2020, I feel like maybe COVID, like you look for any reason to get out the house anyway. So people got out and they voted in record numbers. The turnout was so low this go round. And I think that was the part that I probably found to be the most surprising. The part that, was not surprising, it consistently happens is, man, we just be using that term Latino so broadly, or Hispanic so broadly, and making a lot of default assumptions how some people feel about, say, immigration, for example. Like I saw somebody make the point that there was a county in Texas that is 97% Latino, the most Latino county in America, and it went Republican for the first time, I want to say, since 1892, right? And I think that, for example, on immigration, I feel like the argument of, hey, these people, they think that you're just a bunch of killers and rapists and everything else. Bad you. They're like, nah, that's not what they say about us. That's what they're saying about these people that's trying to come over. And by the way, I don't really need them to come over here neither. They're not my people. If you start with the assumption that all you got to do is say that he don't like Mexicans, you're missing the point. Like it can't stop there. And it felt at times like on that issue that it stopped there. And no, you got to keep going past that.
Well, hey, when these deportations start, we're going to see if they can tell the difference between all these Latinos, or whether they're going to start just grouping them up all into the same categories. I think that you're also looking at a situation, bro, where, number one, I think the number was about 16 million fewer voters, give or take. I need to finally get the number right. 16, like almost about 16 million people less went to the polls this go around. And you're talking about Harris right now, I think was trailing right around 5 million in the overall. So I don't even know if that still would have worked. How do you reach people who do not care about other people? That's the Democrats' problem. Because
they thought that going with Dick Cheney was the way to do that. They're like, hey, Dick Cheney, he don't care about other people. He's down with us.
Dick Cheney's down with what you're talking about, but what you're talking about doesn't connect with the things that I care about.
Correct.
It's a bunch of single issue voters all living in a bubble now, bro. And I think that if you can't make people feel like you care about the things that they are afraid of, and most of the effective campaigns right now are run on fear. Obama was the last one to run on hope. Look what we could become versus look what we might be if you don't vote for me right now. Like, those are two totally different cinema. Like, even with the commercials, bro. I'm so, like, that commercial that like, I laughed during the World Series, and it ended up, I guess, being effective, where every commercial during the World Series and football the last 2 weeks was Trump telling you how Kamala is going to cut everybody's penis off in the jails, and you going to pay for it. And I laughed and laughed and laughed, and then you start seeing people on the exit polls going, yeah, man, that trans rights, it was something that's important to me.
Because like I said, I thought one of the telling things, like the Hispanic vote, because, they was ready to come for us. And apparently we showed up and at least numbers level with the past. So people going to leave us alone. And now they're going to be mad at the Hispanic vote. Because, I found the numbers to be shocking. I will admit, I did not think. But I tell you, I give you an example of why I think they went wrong, right? Like, I just don't think their understanding of the people they were talking to and what really mattered to them. I don't think they pushed that, across to those people in the right way. You had just said something I was going to say something about, and then it just went boop out the brain. What was the thing you was just talking about?
I think that you're looking at an issue where you cannot have voters who you can expect to care about everybody else. I think that idea of politics is gone. So you trying to run a full equality campaign, I don't know how you do that. Like if Kamala had like fracking, for instance, if Kamala had more runway than 100 days to run her campaign and really get into the fracking, then maybe that's something you've got to give her. If you are pro police reform and you want you want to get rid of qualified immunity for police officers, then you might have to give Kamala fracking. You might have to give up a little bit of the environment for the sake of getting this other thing. And I think that's where Democrats are like, no, we like everything and we are good with everybody. Everybody's good, right? Instead of just kind of playing the middle, openly playing the middle. Whereas I think the campaign has always been, let me be way more to the left. Then when I get in office, enact policies that'll be a little bit more centrist. And I don't think you can do that anymore.
Well, does the middle exist anymore, I think becomes the question, because you just raised a point that I hadn't thought too much about, is that if you have this collection of single issue voters, that explains how you wind up with a low turnout. Say if your single issue is Gaza, for example, and you don't feel like you're getting what you want from the candidate you would like to vote for, then you just don't vote.
Correct.
Right? Like that was the thing I kept trying to talk to people about when it would come down, and they would say about this, well, you don't like this, so what are you going to do, vote for Trump? They're like, no, I'm just not going to vote. And that turned out to be that seems, at least in a lot of these places, to have been a big thing. It's just people not doing it. The NBA is officially back, which means you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup between the NFL and the NBA in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.